Welcome to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers with Linda Prio. Will it be possible to remain in my home as I age? Do I feel safe in my home? How do I figure out how much support I will need when my health needs start to change? What if I decide to move into a community instead? Which community will meet my needs now and in the future? Who will play a role in helping me with decision making? Do you ask yourself these same questions? Aging in Place Strategies and Answers can help you gain practical knowledge that will help you create your own Aging in Place roadmap. If you are already a care partner, a power of attorney, or in crisis mode with your Aging in Place strategy, you will learn what you need to know that you don't know. For over 20 years, I have been marketing Aging in Place services to clients and educating families and healthcare professionals in how to put aging in place strategies into place. When you utilize aging in place, you are allowed to choose where you want to live and make those decisions so that you can retain your quality of life. Listeners, I want to welcome you back to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers podcast. And today our topic is going to be focused on families that have been formed through remarriage or partnerships. And sometimes they're called blended families. And so we understand that from a professional standpoint, when we start working with families with multiple extensions, that it's so important to know who you're talking to and who has the authority for decision making and planning. And so many times blended families or families that have been formed through remarriage or formed on partnerships, they have a unique need for legal advice that can work for them and all their extensions. And so I have invited Rudy Beck on my podcast today. And 50 years ago, it was just Rudy Beck. And yet right. Today we call his firm the Beck, Lenox, and Stolzer Estate Plan and Elder Law firm. And the reason why Rudy needed to expand is because he wanted to be able to help more clients. And he just shared with me that he is now helping fourth generation clients. So that says a lot about your knowledge, your experience, but more importantly, the relationships that he and his firm bring to the table. And I can tell you personally that that is a benefit from working with them, is that you build a relationship over time. You get to know the firm, you get to know who's planning with you and for you, and you start becoming comfortable. So in my professional sphere, I consider the Beck, Lenox, and Stolzer Estate Planning and Elder Law firm knowledgeable not only in the topic that we're going to talk about today and as all things estate planning, but they also have a wealth of knowledge in Medicaid planning and in, if you're a veteran, things that you need to know about your service to the military. So I'm going to let Rudy introduce himself. Please give us a little bio about your background. Okay. You don't have to give it all, but just because we got 50 plus years just at the at the firm, right? But,
yeah. How much time do you have, Linda?
Yeah. Well, I definitely want you to mention what you're very proud of, and that is your service to this country. So you take it away, and then we'll get into our questions.
Okay. Well, the law firm was started after I got out of the Army. I got out of law school in the early part of 1974, took the bar exam, and immediately reported for active duty at Fort Gordon, Georgia. Unexpectedly, the then Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, issued an order that any of us that were at the rank of first lieutenant or higher who had less than 6 months on active duty could be relieved of the remainder of our 2-year active duty obligation. Okay. And then I said, well, sir, provided we agree to what?
Yes, yes, he knew there was
What
another piece
what's
to
the
that.
catch? And he said, you have to sign up for 4 years of active reserve status with a reserve unit in your hometown area. My next question was, if we sign this, how soon do we leave, sir? And he said, no later than 0600 tomorrow morning. We'll send somebody by your house to pack everything up, or where you're living, pack it up, and we'll send it all back to where you want at Army expense. And I was the first one to sign.
Okay.
Uh, there were 5 of us
Mm-hmm.
who were first lieutenants in the military police at the time.
Okay.
And I was the first to sign, and one of the 5 said, I'd like to stay in. And he said, we can accommodate you. No problem with that, Lieutenant. And that was that. So I opened my office in December of 74.
Mm-hmm.
I named it Rudy D. Beck and Associates.
Okay.
People were asking me, well, who's your associates? I said, you see that lady that works for me? She's an associate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, she's your secretary. I said, no, she's an associate. I can't make things happen unless she's making it happen too.
Yes.
And that's the attitude I have maintained ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm very proud of that. That
Yes.
I have people, and you know, Linda, you know many of the people that work here for me.
Yes. Yes, I do.
And gosh, I would stack these women, 10 of them, up against anybody anywhere else in the country doing what they do. And you're not going to find people more capable. In fact, you'll find a lot of people not nearly as capable.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very, very happy about that. The other thing I think I'm most proud about, other than being technically good, and you have to be technically good or you shouldn't hold yourself out anyway,
Correct.
but we go an extra step. We believe in providing peace of mind.
Yes.
And when we're finished, I expect people to be able to look at me and go, take a deep breath and kind of go, ah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank me for what? Well, for making us feel at ease,
Mm-hmm.
feeling like we've gotten something done. We've checked that box off and we can move on. Um, so providing peace of mind has been a critical element of everything that we do. And the good news is everybody here in the firm understands that.
Yes.
From the minute somebody answers the phone, people have a question, they know they're talking to somebody who cares about helping them get from where they are to where they need to be and understanding how they got there. And that is the process. And if everything is handled that way, at the end of the day, peace of mind results.
Yes. When you've been educated and have been informed about what it
Right.
is that you probably need to consider, and then you're able to make those decisions. That's when you say, hey, thanks so much. I appreciate it. And then you can walk out of your office with your documents and say, I've got this in hand right now. We're good. And there's
Right.
a lot to be said for that, and that's why I invited Rudy on this podcast. We've known each other not 50 years, but at least 25 of those 50.
Yeah,
I'm
25 to
positive.
30. Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt that this would be a great podcast for people who find themselves in these blended family relationships or partnerships, knowing that this could really be problematic as healthcare needs start to change or people start to age.
Oh, absolutely is. Yeah, it
And
is problematic.
so we want to be careful in our relationships always when we're planning. And failure to plan not only can diminish our ability to determine who gets the stuff and the what we've accumulated, but also how we're going to take care of those that have been a part of our lives. So that's why I invited Rudy on so that we could have this great conversation about planning. Now, a word from our sponsor.
Are you looking for resources on senior living? Check out guideforseniorliving.com for our free online senior resource guide to find senior housing, care, and community connections. Start searching now at guide4seniorliving.com. That's guide4seniorliving.com to find the contact information for senior housing, care, and community connections.
Now let's return to the podcast. So, Rudy, help me learn more, but also help my listeners understand what blended family or partnerships, estate planning should include and why. And I'm not talking about business partnerships. I'm talking about relational
No,
partnerships.
that's exactly
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Well, one of the first things to consider is does the couple have a concern or do they want things developed ultimately so that the one who brought the most into the partnership or marriage will have those assets protected or not?
Okay.
I was just thinking of one client family. They got married about 9 years ago. They each have two adult children today. The husband brought in several $1 million of assets. The wife brought in approximately $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she said to him, "Well, I'm sure that you want to make sure that your children receive a certain chunk of this to begin with.
Yes.
Um, but would it be okay if they got a smaller portion right off the top and another portion would be held in trust so I can get the income from it, but then at my death, they get that portion that's held in trust?" After about 5 months of going back and forth, because there were a lot of things to take into consideration, we came up with a plan that worked.
Okay.
They did not want a post-nuptial agreement.
Okay.
So we put together things in the form of a contract.
All
Each
right.
trust making reference to the other's trust, and then 4 residential properties put into a separate property or trust dealing with those properties.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just got a call late last week saying, "Hey, you know what? We'd like to amend a couple of things. Things are really working out for us since we saw you, and now we'd like to change a couple of things."
Okay.
Um, you never know how that's going to work. But another critical element, really critical, the most important two documents that a husband and wife or two same-sex partners can have is the durable power of attorney dealing with financial matters and the durable power of attorney dealing with healthcare.
Yes.
Um, and I never know who will be the primary decision makers for either of these partners or spouses when they come in to see me. And oftentimes they have a hard time deciding. Um, for healthcare decision making, I can't tell you the number of times over the last, half century.
Don't think about it.
Trying not to, Linda. I can't tell you the number of times that I have been called by a funeral director
Yes.
saying, "Hey, Rudy, what do I do?" So what do you mean? Well, let's say I've got Jim Smith sitting here and are coming to see me, and he says he's the oldest son of the man who died, and therefore he's got the right to decide. And maybe I'm sitting there holding Frank Smith's durable power of attorney for healthcare in my hand, who appointed the second child by the second marriage to make those decisions.
Yes.
And I said, "I'll send you a copy of this healthcare power of attorney, which should help you deal with Jim Smith and let him understand, even though he won't like it,
Right.
he'll then understand that you have to follow the directive that's been set out in the healthcare power of attorney document."
Yeah. Yeah. Even on our side, Rudy, where people are calling to put care in place or they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out next steps for their loved one,
Sure.
the discussion is quite frequently they'll say, "Linda, I want you to know this is my mother, but not my father. And so I'm in charge of my mother, but not in charge of her husband." And they're very clear to tell us that And then fine. You've revealed that to us. That's great. Now we know what the situation is and
Yeah,
who the decision makers are. And then what is your plan for your mother then? Because now that person is not in our line of sight now. They're not
exactly.
decision makers. We're not talking about them. That's on somebody else. So just something as simple as what we're doing, putting care in place for somebody, those conversations will be brought up. And in our relationships, like you said, the oldest son might not like it, but these are the documents,
Well,
and
Linda,
and we want a plan so we can protect those relationships and not disinherit or what other terminology or
well,
exclude.
that's right. And one of the things that you will avoid by having the durable power of attorney for healthcare, you avoid a race to the courthouse for creation of a guardianship
Yes, which takes time and money.
and money. Uh, and if it's for, and in the case you just mentioned, it would be an adult guardianship. And Missouri guardianship law changed in the last 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, used to be that there would be another attorney appointed as a guardian, what we call a guardian ad litem.
Yes.
Now, another lawyer is appointed as legal counsel for the person who is alleged to be incapacitated.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on how zealous, if you will, that appointed legal counsel might be, things can drag out for a long time, a long time.
Yes.
Um, so having the durable power of attorney for healthcare is when it comes to making those healthcare decisions, and who knows when that's going to happen, when the need will arise.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, by I'm a second marriage situation. We are a blended family,
Yes.
and my wife's father, in the last 2 years now, has suffered 3 strokes and a couple of minor strokes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had the durable power of attorney for healthcare in place.
Yes.
Um, and so it made, there were no question about who had the right to make those decisions.
Yes.
And fortunately, my wife and her sister and brother get along. And so they were able to discuss things together, even though the primary decision making rested on one of the others. And so it worked out well. Because if they hadn't been able to get along, the person named in that healthcare decision would have had to look at the other two and say, well, this is what we're going to do regardless. Um, because he or she would have the authority to act.
Yes. And then
Um,
when it isn't identified, then you open the door to all kinds of litigation. He said, she said, we thought, who knew?
well,
And then you have yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you see people when it's not always pleasant, right? And you're sitting there as the big negotiator in the middle of that group of people trying to
I'm,
walk them
I'm,
through.
as I sit here on the far wall across from me is my license to practice law that I was given by the state of Missouri, and it says attorney and counselor at law. You can be an attorney all day long and just talk about the technical legal stuff. And frankly, that's part of what people come to me for. But really, a lot of times it's counseling people,
Hmm.
helping them understand the law, and then counseling them on the best way to go about implementing what the law says.
Absolutely.
Um, and that's where peace of mind comes in again.
Hmm.
Um, boy, sometimes being an arbitrator among competing members of usually competing children
Yes.
from sometimes it's competing competition among children of the same marriage, by the way.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But
Um,
family, and no matter what kind of family it is, there's competing values and relationships,
so
and
anyway,
that's the advantage of
without belaboring it anymore, if people listening to this podcast do not have a durable power of attorney for healthcare, go get one right now. Just get up, call a lawyer that you've heard about, who is experienced in hopefully the elder law area,
Hmm.
because our power of attorney for healthcare that we draft in our office is going to be different than what is seen or what I've seen drafted by people who don't, by other lawyers who don't really have an elder law background,
Hmm.
who it makes a difference.
Yes.
Um, and I'm not going to get into the things that make ours different. That's not what I'm here for today. But
No.
that, and then a durable power attorney dealing with financial matters.
Yes. And so for those listening today, you may say to yourself, oh, yeah, I got that. But I want you to take one more second and really think, have there been any changes in health or relationships? And it might be time to get that out. And as you said, and review it. And then, as you said, Rudy, you practice in the state of Missouri. And so, if you live in another state, you're going to have to find an attorney in the state that you trust. Like we look to the Beck, Lenox, and Stolzer firm, right? But it's important to know what your laws are in that state. And if you've moved, you still have to have your documents up to
Well,
speed.
and the interesting thing there is um, every state gives full faith and credit to a properly drafted legal document uh, from another state.
Okay.
But in the healthcare arena in particular, I suggest people go see a lawyer in the new state, um, because what we draft here in Missouri may not be what a doctor or healthcare practitioners in another state are accustomed to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And they could care less about, oh, well, you mean I have to give valid full faith and credit to what your Missouri document says? They're not going to do that.
Okay.
They're not lawyers. They're dealing with a crisis situation right now in front of them. And if they see something they're not comfortable with, I can't fault them for saying no.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this isn't permitted by our state.
Okay.
Um, and the same thing holds true with financial powers of attorney. I just recently had a young man come in here saying he wanted to prepare a deed putting the property in his name um, at the time of his father's death. And I said, let me see your power of attorney, your dad's power of attorney. Well, this is one that had been drafted by another law firm maybe 15 years ago, I think.
Uh-huh.
And it did not include the power to make a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Well, putting the property in his name would be making a gift, even though dad's will said out of the three children, he was to get everything.
Okay.
So I'm just doing what dad wanted. And I said, doesn't matter. You don't have the authority to do that under this power of attorney. And your father no longer has capacity based on what you told me. So you're going to have to wait until dad dies. He didn't like that. But that's the way it is.
Yes.
Now, if the power of attorney document had been drafted in such a way, and by the way, Missouri law requires that gifting to anyone be specifically permitted according to the terms of the power of attorney document, um, then maybe he could have, as long as the gifting would be consistent with the provisions of the last will and testament or living trust, then in effect at the time the gift was made.
Right. Right.
So that's just one of the instances that's peculiar. And Missouri lists about, I think, 8 to 11 specific things that if you don't mention in a financial power of attorney, you don't have the authority to do as the holder of that power of attorney.
Yes. And
That's one of
so
them.
and so if you think you can just manage this on your own with all the terminology that Rudy just said, and you think you have the acumen to do this, I would just seriously question whether those documents are going to be appropriate. So this is why I always advocate for professional planning and consultations and counseling, along with learning the actual law of the state. And that's what your attorney is there to do for you. Listeners, this is not the end of my interview with attorney Rudy Beck. I was just going to get ready to ask him about the value of a prenuptial or a postnuptial agreement, as well as the purpose of beneficiary designation. So I'm going to encourage you to listen to part 2 of my interview with Rudy Beck, so that if you or someone you know is in a relationship that has been formed through partnership, remarriage, or includes children from earlier relationships or from this new relationship, you're going to want to know what Rudy has to say based on his experience and working with many, many clients. Thank you for listening today. Listeners, do you need a speaker for your group? Or perhaps you would like to know how to access my YouTube channels? Please check out my website, seniorsupportstrategies.com. On the website, you will even find more details about how to get a personal consultation. Thanks for listening. Thank you for joining me today. Please remember that this podcast is intended as education and not advice. Don't forget to share this podcast with family, friends, or colleagues who want to learn how to age in place, but also share this with those who find themselves in crisis mode. Please go to my website, seniorsupportstrategies.com, for more information. When you subscribe to Aging in Place Strategies and Answers, you gain access to premium content and professional tips on creating your own Aging in Place roadmap. As always, I value the time you spend with me.